Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I do not know the answer to that question. Who is doing it? Spike is doing it. Spike is going to be doing the drash tomorrow morning at Minion, and Rabbi Lisa Burney, fresh back from vacation, will be there to lead the service along with Kat and Patty Linsky. Should be a great Shabbat morning right here in the Beit Midrash, either in person or on screen. That's how we roll here at Delbeck Couple. We look forward to having you guys with us for Shabbat morning, just as we were delighted to have you with us for Shabbat evening. I'm going to go lead services. I wish you all Shabbat Shalom. That is my plan. Absolutely. Much love, everybody. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom. It's a promise. Shabbat Shalom. Hey, everybody. No longer with them. Now with you. Yay. All right. They get to join the other live, which is now they're done. Yes. So the table blessings is a Zoom thing, so they can actually talk to each other. And then the service is a live stream thing, so they get to witness from a distance what we're experiencing here. So that's the way that works. But I got to put a towel on, and then we'll get started. Now, Thanksgiving is always a bit of a roll of the dice. You never know, because people are, oh, and also, one of the things you have to remember, and it's a huge factor in all of this, is whatever you see in front of you is actually a tiny fraction of people who actually here. Because now it's last year. Some of these folks are fun. There are folks who are actually planning on it. There's no traffic. Right. It is a good night to call for that reason. Exactly. Yeah. It is true on a night like this where actually you can get here. You know, Thanksgiving week before, but I know people who are joining us from their family gatherings, other cities and states, but they're joining us on screen. So I'm always grateful for those of you who come in person, though, because obviously can't really feel the presence of those folks who are joining us on screen. You know, we look eye to eye, face to face, sometimes soul to soul, cut to tweets, this is very not. And so we are going to webcast all of them. So good for the congregation. I'm looking forward to having Christmas, New Year, yeah, also, and actually two this year. I mean, one is like Christmas is on Monday. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's like the 23rd and then 30th. Yeah, something like that. So yeah, that's how that kind of rolls. In any case. Oh, very good. It is kind of interesting to think about the fact that Thanksgiving was invented then, of all times. Yeah. Exactly. So, if they could do it, we could do it. And I hope you guys had a beautiful Thanksgiving. We're going to start. Let me actually get this all ready to go. We'll do this thing. Good to see you, buddy. Oh, it's not a mystery. Have you ever been to a Thanksgiving Shabbat before? It's always a little light in person. It's okay. No, actually, usually I do it. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I always give everybody the Shabbat up. Usually I lead it myself. That's right. I give everybody. Go and have a nice Thanksgiving weekend, and I lead it myself. That's a usual week with me. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Shabbat Shalom to those of you who are joining us via our live streams. Great to have you with us. On a night like this, we know that we're going to always have more folks who are with us from their family gatherings. I hope it might mean that we have extended family members who might not ordinarily be with us for a Shabbat evening service, but who are with us because they're together with their LBT brethren, parents, grandparents, children, grandchildren, siblings, whatever that may be. We're delighted that you're here with us via our live stream, and obviously love and thanks and welcome to all of you who are here with us in person on this Shabbat evening. We're going to join together in just expressing how grateful we are to be together with the words found at the top of page 10. Hinei ma tov u'manaim shevet achim gam yachad. How good, how pleasant it is for us to celebrate this Shabbat with one another. Hinei ma tov
ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומנעים שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים גם יחד. שבת אחים גם יחד. I want to invite you. You know, it is this season of the year, of course, always filled with a lot of gratitude, but we've never entered into Thanksgiving weekend as we did this year with the utter chaos going on in the world and for us as a Jewish people and as Jewish people. And so accessing all that was part of what I wrote in the congregational message that I sent to you all, not today's, yesterday's, with Amanda Gorman's beautiful poem, which was written in 2018. She was 20 years old when she wrote those words. She is an extraordinary talent. And she was at that time the first ever, there have now been others appointed since, but she was the first ever youth poet laureate of the United States of America. And she wrote that poem to lift up the fact that Thanksgiving itself was really born in the crucible of extraordinary struggle at a time where you would think it would be least likely to be able to summon any real gratitude. 1863 was the first Thanksgiving, declared by President Lincoln at a time where literally the country was killing one another, and yet paused to acknowledge. This is what Shabbat actually exists to be on a weekly basis, so that time doesn't rush together and ultimately become meaningless. We count upon Shabbat to be that regulator in our lives. Once per week, we're able to hit the pause button, take that metaphorical step back, and actually take notice of that which matters the most. And so if your soul is limping, as I think all of ours are, even with the obvious beauty of finally seeing some hostages come home and the knowledge that they are being reunited with their loved ones, although also picturing the great struggle that must be, what that experience has to be, not only for those who are welcoming them home, but even for the hostages themselves. As we struggle with all of that, we take this moment to do what Shabbat was created to do. They celebrated Shabbat in the camps during World War II. I've taught here before about Rabbi Leo Beck, of blessed memory, how he led Shabbat at Theresienstadt every single week, still marked Shabbat, still to take notice of the gift of life coming in and out of us, even at those times when we can barely breathe. And so I want to share with you, before I share these words, I want to just invite you, take a moment, if you will. Might help to close your eyes, just to literally feel yourself alive. Something that we don't often take the time to do. But that involuntary gift of the breath that you are now noticing, coming in and out of your body, is the sustenance that gives your soul a home in this world, an embodied home in this world. And so while you notice yourself breathing, I want to share some words of poetry with you written by a gentleman who is in many ways considered sort of the poet laureate of our Reform movement. His name is Alden Solovey, and we read a lot of his poetry here in Reform congregations all across the country, across the world even, because he lives in Israel. His words of poetry help to create beauty and mystery in our lives. These are his words for this Shabbat evening. If you listen, listen. If you listen, you will hear. Shabbat descend from her distant place, gently clearing the air of the steady buzz of the mundane, gently inviting you to stillness, gently preparing the space for the arrival of holiness. If you listen, listen. If you listen, you will hear the arrival of luminous wonder, a radiance of glory that touches your heart so that love pulses through your veins. The gates of your soul burst open. You run through them, skipping, singing, Maher Ahuv, hurry, beloved. How long since your hands touched mine? How long since your lips brushed these tired eyes? How long since I rested in you? Kiva moed, for the time has come. The time has come to reunite, and tears of surrender, shimmering with the taste of honey, will pour through you like grace from God's ancient well. V'choneni kimei olam. If you listen, listen, listen. You received 2 supplemental pages with your prayer book tonight. If you'll turn to the cream-colored one, in the upper left-hand corner, words of Psalm 92. The psalmist is simply trying to express gratitude no matter the life circumstance, no matter what it is that has accompanied us to this Shabbat. Fears of life and death, fears of a world abiding in chaos. Still, Tov L'hodot L'Adonai. It is good for us to give thanks, to use our voices in song as a means for expressing our gratitude for life's blessings. Please join me. Tov L'hodot L'Adonai, Ulzamer L'Shimcha Elyon. L'Adonai, Ulzamer L'Shimcha Elyon. On this the day of days, my lips shall sing your praise, for I know that you'll always be here surrounding me. Ulzamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Tov L'hodot L'Adonai, Ulzamer L'Shimcha Elyon. My spirit takes release. I close my eyes in peace, and from my soul heard far above springs a song of love. Tov L'hodot L'Adonai, Ulzamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Tov L'hodot L'Adonai, Ulzamer L'Shimcha Elyon. I wish to understand the wonders of your hand, for all the blessings that are mine rise from your design. Tov L'hodot L'Adonai, Ulzamer L'Shimcha Elyon. Tov לשמחה עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמחה עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני ולזמר לשמחה עליון. As Alden Solovey said in his poem, we wait, hurry, beloved, we say to the Shabbat bride. Hurry, bring us the gift of restoration, the gift of love. The words of L'cha Dodi can be found on pages 20 and 21. We'll sing the first two verses on page 20, and then the top and bottom verses on page 21. Verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. L'cha Dodi לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. l'cha דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. l'cha דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. l'cha דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. l'cha דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. l'cha דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. Top of 21. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי שדברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה. l'cha דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. l'cha דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. As you're able, please rise and face the entrance to the room, and let us, in our soul's eye, see, experience, feel the arrival of Shabbat the bride. בואי ושלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצולה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. l'cha דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. l'cha דודי לקראת כלה בני שבת נקבלה. We're on page 28. Yai la la, yai la la la. Yai la, yai la, yai la. Yai la la, yai la la la. Yai la 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 ya la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. La 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam va'ed. La 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la la. Let us celebrate the gift of evening light. Evening light is different than daylight. Daylight comes and, of course, everything is bright. We have the promise of a new day in front of us. Very different type of experience than the arrival of nighttime light, which, of course, brings darkness along with it, all the uncertainties that come with the dark. And also a reminder that the planets are at all times doing their thing. Just like we talked about at the beginning of services, not really noticing the very living that we do, the breathing that we do. I don't know about you, but only every now and then do I look up and notice maybe a sliver of the moon. New moon. Catch where we are in the cycle of things. Full moon. You notice that, right? But far too many nights, we take it all for granted. This next prayer is designed to make sure that we don't take it all for granted, or that we recognize that our very lives depend upon this extraordinary solar system that enables us to differentiate day from night, the months and the years from one another, and creates meaning in the span of time. And so let's join together at the top of page 31 in saluting all of those gifts. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'ma'ariv aravim. Page 34. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. Page 36. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher hanochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'v'lechtecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'ayu letotafot bein einecha u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'v'yisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. A vision for this world that we badly need, found on page 41, words to lead us into our prayer for redemption, wholeness, restoration, liberation, peace. Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace. As you turn to the blue supplement, top of the page, you'll find the words of Hashkivenu, our nighttime prayer. I just want to share some brief words of poetry by David White to set our hearts and our souls for this prayer. When your eyes are tired, the world is tired also. When your vision has gone, no part of the world can find you. Time to go into the dark, where the night has eyes to recognize its own. There you can be sure that you are not beyond love. The dark will be your womb tonight. The night will give you a horizon further than you can see. You must learn one thing. The world was made to be free in. Give up all the other worlds except the one to which you belong. Sometimes it takes darkness and the sweet confinement of your aloneness to learn that anything or anyone that does not bring you alive is too small for you. With love for all the gifts that darkness can bring to us, we join in song and prayer. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu L'shalom, L'shalom V'ha'amidenu Malkeinu L'chaim Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 On page 46, as you're able, please rise. Adonai Svatai Tivta. Adonai Svatai Tivta. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, Ve'Konei Hakol, Ve'Zocher Chastei Avot Ve'imahot, U'mevii Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. כי מוחה בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. continues in silence through page 62. It's also a time for our own private prayers. I invite you to remain standing or to be seated whenever you're ready. I cannot tell you how the light comes. What I know is that it is more ancient than imagining, that it travels across an astounding expanse to reach us, that it loves searching out what is hidden, what is lost, what is forgotten, or in peril, or in pain. That it has a fondness for the body, for finding its way toward flesh, for tracing the edges of form, for shining forth through the eye, the hand, the heart. I cannot tell you how the light comes, but that it does, that it will, that it works its way into the deepest dark that enfolds you, though it may seem long ages in coming, or arrive in a shape you did not foresee. And so may we this day turn ourselves toward it. May we lift our faces to let it find us. May we bend our bodies to follow the arc it makes. May we open and open more and open still to the blessed light that comes. Page 60. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech adom lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adom lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. בטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. So it certainly was not planned with any of us here in America in mind, but what a relief it is that the cessation of hostilities in the Israel-Hamas war coincided exactly with our Thanksgiving weekend. Could there be any greater reason for giving thanks than the sight of the first group of Israeli hostages returning to their loved ones and this blessed oasis from the relentless images of violence and brutality and agony for so many innocent people that have plagued us all for the past month and a half? For the past 7 weeks, every day we have been witnessing the steady shattering of almost everything we thought we knew about being a part of the Jewish people in this day and age. We saw a bludgeoning of innocent Israelis that was more gruesome than anything we had ever imagined, wider in scope and success than either our enemies or our Israeli siblings ever conceived of being possible. We remembered our misery when Israeli soldier Gilad Shalit was abducted by Hamas in 2006 and was held captive for 5 years. And we multiplied that misery by 240 as we saw not only soldiers but children, elderly women and men, mothers with their babies, whole families taken hostage and stashed away underground by bloodlusting terrorists. We were forced to grapple with the impossibility of what it would take to recover 240 people held by a militant force that honors none of humanity's established rules for waging war justly. We watched an endless array of American progressive groups we had worked with side by side for the widest range of social justice causes, respond to the butchering, the incineration, the decapitation and capture of Jews with a mixture of silence, tortured wordsmithing, and outright support. It was soul-robbing to see assumed friends look upon our people's executioners as liberators and condone their barbarism against our people as deserved. We witnessed the widespread rise of an anti-Semitism we had convinced ourselves was a thing of the past. We saw the return of the most tired tropes of those who hate Jews, only this time they weren't only being spoken by those we know to be white supremacists. They tumbled with impunity from the mouths of those who purport to care about humanity's refuse, except when humanity's refuse are Jews, who appear to be disqualified from such care. We saw literally millions all over the world, including here in the US, and including quite a number of Jews, join in the familiar chorus of declaring Israel to be unworthy of existence, to be a white settler colonialist enterprise, an attack that is as anti-Semitic as it is ignorant. For the record, the majority of Israeli Jews are not even white-presenting, much less white. They come from Middle Eastern countries where they were forced to flee for their lives because they are Jews. At precisely the moment when it couldn't have been more obvious why the existence of Israel was not only warranted, but absolutely necessary as a matter of life and death for the world's Jews, this is when millions the world over responded to Israel's self-defense following a civilian massacre with the assertion that Israel should be wiped off the face of the planet. And now we routinely hear that the Jews are committing genocide in a legal war of self-defense against an enemy whose declared desire to commit genocide against the world's Jews is in writing and is repeated habitually in the media and meets with faint, if any, condemnation. We also watched and winced as the Israel Defense Forces, the military charged with protecting the place of Jews on the planet, engaged in a war whose results are naturally sickening our souls. Anyone looking at the violent deaths of thousands of Palestinian children, among others, and not feeling physically and soulfully undone has already become yet another of Hamas's victims. To look upon this kind of suffering dispassionately is to surrender one's own heart and spirit. It is to declare, Hamas has taken power over me, over my sensibilities. They want to reduce the world to pitiless terror, and I am ready to oblige them. One need not, one must not abandon all semblances of humanity in order to support Israel's war of self-defense. Israelis are in the streets demanding that the war be fought justly in accordance with international law. We, speaking from the safety of half a world away, where hyperbole is shopped without consequence, we can do no less. And speaking of hyperbole, we have mourned the demise of the final vestiges of civil discourse. In an era in which every self-appointed expert posts and reposts their preferred version of the truth without even bothering to verify accuracy, so long as the words and images really bite and sting, our brains are swimming in a cesspool of misinformation, wielded like a deadly weapon against our shared humanity. We are drowning in that cesspool, watching even our own families and friendships descend into futility. We have become the very machines that Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and the rest have sought to create. We rail against bloodshed and demand peace by choosing our side in the war, thereby perpetuating and deepening it by refusing to demand anything from the party we have ruled guilty. And this is why we are so thoroughly drained. For the past 7 weeks, every day, we have been witnessing the steady shattering of almost everything we thought we knew about being a part of the Jewish people in this day and age. And yet our Torah is here, as always, to remind us humbly that we never actually knew as much as we thought. Just 7 verses into this week's Torah portion, our ancestor Jacob, who will go on to become our collective namesake by taking the name Israel. Israel awakens from his famous desert dream, in which he sees a ladder with angels of God going up and down it. And he hears the renewal of the promise first spoken to his grandfather, Abraham, that his people will have a place on this earth, that his descendants will share in that future and be numerous, and that together they will be a blessing to the world. He awakens filled with that vision, and in a moment of awe, he speaks words that have been much interpreted by our sages across the centuries. Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh v'anochi lo yadati. Truly, the Eternal One is in this place, and I did not know it. I want to be clear. I did not repeat the word I there by mistake. The Hebrew is written in something of a peculiar manner in this Torah text. Hebrew speakers know that Anochi lo yadati is somewhat redundant. He could have just said lo yadati, and it would have meant I did not know it. Would have been sufficient. Adding Anochi lo yadati is therefore obviously intentional, as something of a point of emphasis. So the question is, what is being emphasized? I have studied many interpretations over the years, but none that speaks more directly to this moment, this painful year in which we encounter this episode in the Torah with new and troubled eyes, than this teaching by an 18th century scholar, Rabbi Pinchas Horowitz, who wrote the following in his commentary, Panim Yafot. When can we experience God's nearness? Only when we are suffused by I do not know. When we ourselves know that we do not know. And do not pretend to have wisdom and insight that in truth we do not have. Might the biblical Israel have been signposting something to Am Yisrael, to us, the people of Israel, at this unprecedented time in our shared story? Might that extra anochi, that added emphasis that is very deliberately injected into this sentence in the Torah, be an emphasis on the humility and the spiritual strength that comes with saying the words that so few people are finding the wisdom and courage to muster in this moment, in saying truthfully, I do not know. When I speak with my rabbi friends, not a one of them relishes the responsibility that comes with having to speak publicly and frequently about this defining moment in Jewish history. There is such a great chance at every moment of being wrong and of having the record demonstrate just how wrong we were when it counted the most as Jewish leaders. If it doesn't cause you to quake at least a little bit before opening your mouth, there is truly something wrong. If only the noisy, angry world in which we live would quake for a moment or two before speaking hatred, forwarding hatred, posting hatred, multiplying hatred in ways that only reverberate off the surfaces of human souls and boomerang back to cause us harm and danger. If only we, as a human family, could recognize the obviousness of how uncertain we actually are about everything we are speaking out into space with such absolute and misguided confidence. On this Shabbat evening, I want to give voice to a lot of things that I do not know. These are the things that you don't know either, even if you think you do. I don't know whether Hamas can be eliminated as a power in Gaza. No matter how long this war, soon to be resumed, lasts. no matter how many innocent people die in the name of achieving that righteous objective. Yes, I see what the United States military did to pulverize Al-Qaeda and ISIS into submission. And with a very queasy stomach, I am forced to admit that it worked. It worked at the cost of hundreds of thousands of innocent lives. We all know more than we wish we did about the civilian death toll in Afghanistan, where America had a legitimate terrorist enemy in Al-Qaeda. But less known is the full depth of the destruction our military did in Syria and also in Iraq, where there were no weapons of mass destruction after all, to relieve us from the danger of ISIS, which rightly terrified us so greatly about 10 years ago. Between 2014 and 2019 alone, in the effort to drive ISIS out of Syria and Iraq, the United States dropped approximately 112,000 bombs and missiles in that 5-year period. Yes, they were sophisticated, targeted weapons, and yes, so are Israel's. And yes, thousands and thousands of innocent farmers and families in Syria lost their lives to remove the fear of ISIS from our lips, from our lives. Those who say confidently that Hamas cannot, under any circumstance, be brought to its knees need to read a history book or two of just the past 10 years. And those who say so confidently that Israel can bring Hamas to its knees, that it can do so militarily, that it will have the sustained support of the United States in doing so, that the world will tolerate Israel dropping 112,000 bombs and missiles when it's only Jews that Hamas wants to annihilate. That we can or should tolerate the amount of innocent life that will be lost in order to achieve that just military goal. They are confident of something that they do not know, because it cannot be known. Another thing I do not know: even if Hamas can be eliminated as a ruling power in Gaza, I do not know what will happen next there. And neither does the IDF, because it's impossible to know. That doesn't diminish in the slightest the fact that Hamas has earned its own extinction back when it was brutally killing and oppressing its own people just to seize power from the Palestinian Authority in Gaza via a coup. And certainly their out loud plan to exterminate the Jewish people, wherever they may be, more than explains Israel's just determination to destroy them. But unless we Jews, both in Israel and around the world, are prepared to demand Israeli leadership that will demonstrate the courage necessary to bring a neighboring state of Palestine into being after all of this carnage, we need to display some proper humility before the giant open question of what comes next. We do not know. And while we're on the subject of things we do not know, I am grateful all the way down to my soul for this temporary truce. And I love, as you do, the first groups of hostages returning home as they are. And I do not know whether this pause in hostilities will actually benefit the suffering Palestinians in the long run, much less the terrified Israelis. I don't actually know if more or fewer innocent people will lose their lives because of this break in the bloodbath. Wars of necessity are always clouded with such uncertainties. The argument about whether the horrific death toll of civilian populations in Dresden, in Hiroshima, in Nagasaki continues to this day. Some will call these attacks the worst war crimes in human history. Others suggest, with reasonable data to back them up, that had these attacks not happened, still more innocent people would have died over the long continuation of World War II. My guess is that each one of you has a pretty strong feeling about which side of that argument is correct. And the painful reality is that you have no idea whether your strong feeling is justified or not. You don't know if you're right about it. And there's no way to find out. So maybe the biblical Israel was trying to tell us something when he lingered on saying, I do not know. Maybe we can resist the impulse to contribute unwittingly to a world awash in rancor and venom, so much of which is landing squarely upon us Jews in this time of such harrowing consequence. There is nowhere to hide from the moral demand of this chapter of our lives. Each one of us is trying our best to guess what's right. An educated guess, but a guess nonetheless. And to base our speech, our donations, our activism, our posture in the world on that guess. It is no mystery why we prefer to pretend that we know the answers to questions as agonizing as these. Certainty, even if it is manufactured, is a warm blanket designed to protect us from moral doubt. If I say that anything Israel does to defend itself is automatically just, I don't have to wrestle with those images of dying Palestinians. If I say that everything Israel does to defend itself is automatically unjust, I get to hide behind my zeal to disavow any soulful responsibility for those dying Palestinians. And I get to kick the can down the road about the question that I know can never be answered. Was there actually a better way? A better way that could truly be achieved? Or did my hunger to point my finger at somebody else, anybody else, for the suffering of the innocent Gazans, assign to me soulful responsibility that I cannot flee for all the dying to come, the Jewish dying, if Hamas is left to continue its work on ending the Jewish people? Anochi lo yadati. I do not know. And neither do you. We can be among the few to hold that humble truth in the way we choose to be in this world in this moment. We can be among the few who won't dehumanize those who do not see all of this as we do. There is a whole lot of destruction emerging from the false binary that is being foisted upon us of choosing sides, when the only real and lasting solution for these two tortured peoples will be when this world chooses both sides. We can be among the few who will not seek the heart's harbor of distancing ourselves from the consequences of this war. That is to say, there is no backing of Israel right now that somehow absolves us of holding the pain that support is creating in thousands of real Palestinian lives. Saying that we do not know is saying that we will not lie about the moral ambiguities of this war, even as we know it must be fought. That we won't anesthetize ourselves from bearing the burden of what is happening to those caught in the middle. that we won't let Hamas take power over our senses, that we won't join them in their callous disregard over the destruction of the innocent. It is much easier, much more attractive to say, I know. Everybody does it nowadays, even when they literally know nothing. There are people chanting from the river to the sea who couldn't find Palestine on a map. And there are loyalists of Israel's war who know nothing and care nothing of the displacement of the Palestinian people, without which the modern Jewish state could never have come to be. Saying we know when we don't tends to radicalize us. Saying we don't know, we think, we feel, but we just might be wrong, presents the possibility of humanizing us, and then us humanizing others, just as it was promised to the biblical Israel way back in this week's Torah portion. Through you and your descendants, all the families of the earth shall find blessing. May we make it so. Amen. Oh, do we need healing? Broken are we. Spirits shattered as everything we thought we knew is taken away from us day by day by day. And so many, those who aren't in the death counts, bodies broken, sick, ill, injured, wounded, to say nothing of those in our personal circles of love right here, family members, friends, neighbors, fellow members of this community, those struggling with illness, those staring death in the eye and attempting not to blink. For all of them, we'll join together in a prayer for healing and strength, courage and light on this Shabbat, to bring them some measure of the sustenance that we are creating with and for one another right here. So if you have a name that you would like to speak aloud of a loved one or a friend, you'd like to include their names in our collective prayer for healing tonight, I invite you to stand at this time when my eyes meet yours. You can speak those names aloud to our congregation.
My niece Naama, Pellet Fryman, and Malcolm families, particularly Ophir Malcolm, who's serving in the north of the IDF.
Our healing prayer is found in the middle of page 253. Mikol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. Let us say, Amen. Mishebeira imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Aleinu can be found at the bottom of page 282. As you are able, please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'Adon HaKol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לבני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Page 287. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד, ושמו אחד. Some words to help us prepare for the recitation of Kaddish. These words written by our senior Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Sandy Reagans. Would that the people we love and need could be with us always, but that cannot be no matter how much we wish it so. Why is it this way? We do not know. We will never know. That is the central mystery of life. All we can do is cherish our loved ones until the time comes, as it must, when they are taken away from us. And then, like all the generations before, we must weep for those we have lost and carry on, sustained by the knowledge that something of their essence abides, always with us, as long as we live, giving us strength and courage, comfort and hope. As we prepare to recite the Kaddish prayer this evening, we remember especially our congregant Matt Taylor, husband of Kate Taylor and father of Isaac and Alden, and Esther Ross, mother of our longtime congregant Steve Ross, mother-in-law of Linda Kent, and grandmother of Lydia and Gabriel, and our longtime congregant Marshall Lichman, husband of Carolyn Lichman, whom death has taken from us in recent days. And we link their names with Edgar Aberman, Julius Adler, Rose Haber Alexander, Howard Axelrod, Janice Bernstein, Ellen M. Colley, Evelyn Ellman, Mozafar Hakaka, Mark Kaufman, Morris Mandel, Sam Myman, Sarah Neiman, Sarah Novak, Irving Perlis, Leah Poster, Ann Raymer, Pam Ratner, Julius Reines, David Sirota, Cheryl Spector, Yossi Tsabari, David Vermouth, Sylvia Roth Wildenstein, Ralph Winkler. Are there other names we should include? If so, please speak them aloud. We think as well of all those we name in our hearts, the numbing numbers of those who have lost their lives as innocent victims of violence in Israel and in Gaza and in so many troubled corners of this world, some not distant from where we stand on this night of beauty to celebrate Shabbat. Holding them all close at heart, we say, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, the memory of the righteous is an everlasting blessing. As together we give thanks for the blessing of life with the words of Mourner's Kaddish, found on page 294. As you're able, please rise. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, be'almat yivrach yirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chaye echon u'v'yom echon, u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'yizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, shemei dekudsha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, ta'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru, amen. May the giver of peace and peace to all who mourn, comfort to all who are bereaved among us, and let us together say, Amen. I'm going to invite you to turn back to that blue supplemental page as we prepare to conclude our service the way we've been concluding, maybe not exactly all, but most of our services since this war began. This is a melody, actually, that Rabbi Yoshi Zweibeck and I wrote, actually, at the time of the Second Lebanon War. So this was written at a different time of war and bloodshed for our Israeli family. And started singing it shortly after this war began. Rabbi Bernie, in particular, was the one who came to me and said we should be singing this every week until such time as we are rescued from the awfulness of what we are having to endure on a weekly basis. And so this is a song of comfort, a song of resolve, a song of responsibility to one another. Kol Yisrael arevim zeh bazeh. Each one of us responsible for one another. I invite you to, you'll pick it up quickly if you don't already know it. We sang this a lot also, I want to add, for a completely different undertone. Sang this a lot during the pandemic. And if you remember, when I was busy leading services to a screen, actually I wasn't even to a screen, I was looking at a little dot at the top of my laptop, trying to imagine your faces. It was not an easy thing to do. Turn all of us rabbis and pastors and priests into actors. You know, lead to the camera, see the people. And, you know, it was not a pleasant responsibility, but we did the best that we could in that time. And we did a lot of singing of this prayer because, of course, we discovered during a pandemic just how much we are responsible for one another, how the survival of so many people we didn't even know was dependent upon us making responsible choices. And so, yet again, now for us as Jewish people, Kol Yisrael arevim zeh bazeh. I invite you to sing with me. When you stumble, I fall. We're not that separate at all. In your danger, I fear. So far apart and yet so near. searching for what's right. You're there to point me toward the light, and you show me the way by what you do and what you say. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh. Kol Yisrael Arevim. We are all connected. I look in your eyes and I see you're my responsibility. And let our hope never cease. We live to see the day of peace. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh. Kol Yisrael Arevim. We are all connected. One spirit, one heart, will never be apart. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zeh B'Zeh. Kol Yisrael Arevim. We are all connected. Kol Yisrael